the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of Vernon Hills. We need to start with a roll call.
Chairman Morris,
Here. Oh,
Commissioner Blue, Commissioner Cotton,
Here.
Commissioner Hesner,
Here.
Commissioner Heidner,
here.
Commissioner Mulcrone,
Here.
Commissioner Grog.
Okay, we have a quorum. Okay, this evening we have a public hearing for case 1706, an application filed by GW Rivertree LLC pursuant to Article 13, etc. of the Code of Vernon Hills, seeking approval of a special use permit to allow a children's recreation facility to be known as Sky Zone Indoor Trampoline Park and Little Kickers Indoor Soccer to operate along with certain variations, including but not limited to signage. This location is 701 North Milwaukee, Unit 244, formerly the Gordmans in Rivertree Shopping Center. Who's going to speak on behalf of the petitioner this evening? Okay. The primary rule is you need to speak from one of the microphones, either the standard ones or the handheld. Okay. Want to introduce yourself first?
Mitch Goltz, GW Properties.
Okay. We ask you to raise your right hand and swear or affirm that this testimony you're about to give before this commission of the Village of Vernon Hills shall be the truth.
I do.
You're on.
All right, thank you. Mitch Goltz, excuse me, I'm the owner of GW Properties. We are the contract purchaser to acquire the former Gordmans in Vernon Hills. We have a plan to split the existing building and lease, as you said, to Sky Zone and Little Kickers, both of whom are tenants in our company's portfolio currently. They're entertainment / recreation / children uses that we think would be very conducive to the building, more conducive than what Gordmans has been over the last couple of years. I grew up going to the Vernon Hills movie theater, and I think this restores it back to what a little bit more of what it should be. So the application, I think, speaks for itself, and I've been working with Joe and staff on getting everything in order here so that this could be a seamless transition from taking ownership to getting these guys in here. I brought a set of the elevations in case you guys don't have a set of what we're looking to do. Nearly everything in the building will stay intact. We're keeping the facade. We're splitting it into two, but we're really not doing nothing to the parking lot. The building's being split inside into the two users. 30,000 square feet will be Sky Zone and 20,000 square feet will be Little Kickers. Good co-tenants for one another. They're excited, we're excited, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Okay. Anybody?
I've got one.
Yes.
I understand you're splitting it, but the bathrooms are only on the Little Kicker side.
The bathrooms that are shown on the plans are just the existing bathrooms. We are not built, the Sky Zone will have their own bathrooms. They're going to be building them as part of their build out, their permit. The plan that's shown is simply what's existing, which we'll be reusing to some extent for Little Kickers, but there will be nothing shared between the two tenants. They will have their own trash, their own entrances, their own utilities, so aside from the parking lot, of course.
Anybody else?
So we're really not reviewing a plan.
No, I mean, it was,
So we're just
we,
reviewing a use and elevations and signage.
yeah, I mean, we didn't realize until a little later on that, the uses which are considered recreation don't fit within the current zoning code. But as far as the plans themselves, you're not reviewing, nor would you review the space plans for the respective tenants. But, the elevation we're looking to get approved for generally what we're doing. We'll obviously go through the permitting process and any technicalities would be addressed there, but correct.
Can I ask you a question about the elevations?
Yes.
We have one plan that was given to us, well, actually there's two things. It's ST1, and then we also have another plan, A2.0, and the elevations are different in terms of signage and the like. Which one is it?
What's the date on the bottom?
The date.
I mean, can I come out?
5/8/17, and
I think the one with the measurements.
then this one is 5/8/17 also.
They should be one of them. They should be the same, except for one shows the dimensions, which was requested.
No, they're actually, it's
They actually look
it's
very
like
Oh, this one. I'm sorry. This one. The A.
2.0.
Yeah, the 2.0, I'm sorry.
So A 2.0 is.
Yeah, the A 2.0, which has the dimensions of the signage, that's the one that's currently being proposed. I'm sorry.
That's the bluish gray color.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just not the signs changed, the elevations changed a little bit too.
So the really, yeah, the little kickers is the only part that really should have changed, and then the dimensions of the signage was put in here. Everything everything about the Sky Zone facade is existing except for the color of the gray is now a purple, and the Sky Zone signs where the Gordman sign is. I think within there, Joe, there should be a plan of showing the existing and the proposed. But it's
I don't think we have an existing, do we?
really the only thing on the facade that is being modified is the area that says Little Kickers, that section with the storefront, that's the only portion that is being modified. Beyond that, it's just simply painting different colors where the little logos are.
Does anybody have a photograph of that building?
It should have been within the package, there would have been a plan that's,
I don't think there is.
I mean, the inside? Outside.
No, there's not.
one of the pages, Joe, that we submitted was the existing and the proposed. So,
I mean,
all the signage.
is this what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's, so that's the top portion is existing elevation.
But in both of these, they're both different.
Well, the A2,
You need to use the microphone, I'm sorry. Sorry.
The A 2.0,
Uh-huh.
the top portion is the existing, and the bottom one is the proposed. So we took the Gordman sign off for the existing, since that's being removed now. But as you can see, the only portion of this that's being changed is what says Little Kickers, we're putting the second entrance, but beyond that, everything is being left intact except for some color changes to
So
the,
you're adding that ephes facade, the awning, couple punched openings for where the doors are, and a cornice.
correct, for Little Kickers. But beyond that, it's existing.
I think the little kickers addition there, the cornice is too traditional for the rest of the building. And then the little frame box outs, I would think it would be more successful if that wasn't there and the cornice was just a simple horizontal band like that's by the Sky Zone.
We can do that, that's not a,
Yeah, I mean, simplify it all. Just super.
well, I mean, we were taking what was existing and we modified, that's not a big deal to make it solid. We thought that, because I think the reason it had a little bit of detail was because the cornice for Sky Zone is above the parapet, so it's kind of its own element. Here, it's gonna be below the parapet, so to give it a little bit of context and texture off of the flat, beige behind it, I think was what the architect was intending, but I don't think any of us.
It seems a little fussy.
Okay, I mean, we could make that straight, that's not a big deal at all. Essentially getting rid of the top part of the cornice and just widening that lighter gray would be that.
In reality, Jeff, there's a little bit of a cornice on the Gordman's building. You could look at it,
Oh, the existing?
yeah. And the thing is it'd be fine, it looks like it'd be fine if it just wasn't painted, those two different colors.
Oh, okay.
It-
I don't know if this is our.
And I have to speak, I'm not sure that
Oh,
it is
might
painted,
be.
I think it might just be
Different
just
corners.
the shade because of to give it some
Okay.
context and
All right, yes. I think point is well made, just simplify
Yeah.
your cornice detail, and don't put those recesses in the new ephes. Just make it a simple flush face, and I think you're in good shape.
Okay.
Because it looks like there's boxed out,
Well, the part, part of that was tying into the skies, behind the Sky Zone, the ephes is
a grid.
indented for that, so to tie that back in
Well-
here a little bit, but,
If you want to tie into it, then make it a grid. I mean, either make it a grid or just make it super simple.
either way is fine, I mean, that should be fine.
I want to clarify on the ST1 drawings, which you said were not the correct ones. the Sky Zone has indoor trampoline park underneath it.
They've removed that from
I
their
just
name.
want to make
Yeah,
sure,
they-
that now the
they're not-
white letters, which pop a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, the formal name is Sky Zone Trampoline Park, but they've gotten rid of that within the name because they've actually been offering more than just trampolines now. They do a lot of, sky climbing and some other elements that, may become just as big as the trampoline, so it's just called Sky Zone.
Okay,
So,
to make sure.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Joe, because these are two separate users, and typically, don't we do special uses for a user? Does this have to be two separate motions, or how?
When we did Gym Spot and M&N Rhythmic Gymnastics, we did it as a combined special use for,
But that was one facility, wasn't it? It wasn't split up? Or is it- Then this one's split up, so what do we have to do here? Because doesn't the special use say, stay with the user? And if it's a new user, then they have to come back to us? How do we do this?
if just to be, for the interest of just making sure that we're thorough, and we can do a special use for both. And that way, it's very clear that both developments both users are receiving a special use.
Okay,
Is
because-
that, or you can separate it into two individual ones? So that they're not tied together, so that in the future, one could leave and the other one could
Could
stay.
Right, I mean, I would want them to be approved separately. I wasn't sure whether, we're not changing the zoning here, right? This is simply keeping the zoning intact and allowing the special use, which typically has been for specific users. So yes, I would like the flexibility that in the event one of the tenants leaves, it doesn't change anything with the other one, so.
So then, in terms of variations with respect to that special use, Little Kickers is to allow for two signs, because what the Sky Zone sign is considered to be one, the way it's done, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then to allow a larger logo of 120 square feet rather than 4 square feet for Little Kickers. And then the wall signage, that's combined.
Correct. And that's how the sign measurements are done on the
Okay.
building.
Okay, the tenant panel sign, that's a combined issue. And then the names to be displayed on the traffic directional, that's also combined.
Correct.
Okay. So for Sky Zone, other than variations C, D, and E, it has no other variations it's requesting with this special use, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, anybody else?
Any of the signage that you're requesting is just replacing existing?
Everything that
Gordon's?
everything we're proposing is to the inch, the same square footage that's existing. We just, because it's two users and not one, and actually, I'm not even sure, Joe, it's even the two, is that some of these approvals were for Gordman's and were specific to Gordman's. So if we were to replace that sign with Sky Zone for the whole building, I may in fact be in front of you guys today to change that. But yes, to answer your question, we're just replacing whatever you see for Gordman's would be here, nothing more, nothing less.
And that includes in the center itself?
Yeah, the center itself, right. There's 2 pages within the signage exhibit, which is unchanged to today, that shows the before and after, so you can see that it's not being changed at all.
I mean, variations D and E in your packet, if there was only one user for Gordman's,
Wouldn't do anything.
he is correct. All those approvals would have already been in place
Right.
for the particular property.
Okay, all right, anybody else?
I just want to say, I think this is a destination, which is a great use for a building that has some challenges with exposure.
I
And
agree.
I just think that I'm very happy that they found a use so quickly.
Thank you. I mean, it's a little bit, it goes full circle. I grew up in Deerfield and I went to River Tree my entire life. I think my first date was at River Tree, and when I went to Gordman's, everybody kind of said, oh, that's a weird location for them, and, what happened to Gordman's was obviously a bigger issue that they went bankrupt as a whole, but these are the types of uses that should have always been in this type of building, just like the movie theater was, so, thank you.
Does the Sky Zone have specially trained people to care for any injuries that
Yeah,
might occur?
absolutely. There's a lot of staff and a lot of oversight, a lot of parents.
And how about their record as far as injuries? This is not, they have many other.
They have 200 and
facilities
some
where-
locations all around the world. They're based out in California. Part part of the reason I'm onto this project is I own, I own a facility very similar to this in Orland Park, South Suburban Orland Park. We bought a former John M. Homemakers facility that was been leased to Cars and Perry Scott Furniture Store. We bought it with 90,000 square feet of vacant space, and we leased it up to Sky Zone, a place called Gizmo's Fun Factory, and a fitness facility. And that Sky Zone is now one of the top Sky Zones in the world. And this is a very similar type of location to it. So I think this will go over very well here. I think the community will embrace it. They do a lot of birthday parties, they do adult events as well, corporate training. It's a lot of fun. So I encourage you, if you're ever down south, to go visit the facility.
Do you have a record of injuries that happen?
I don't. I mean, I can tell you I'm unaware of any issues. I mean, I'm sure as any big company, they have, there's incidents, but nothing that I've seen
I was just
publicly.
wondering about the usage of the emergency services in the area. If you require.
Never. I don't think it's any different than, a Dave & Buster's or anything that, has kids. I mean, they obviously they're very responsible, being a big, international operation here. They're very careful with the training and staff and procedures they have there. So, but I'm unaware of any issues. So.
Okay, can we clarify for our record, either Scott or Jeff, the architectural suggestion that's being made with regard to the Little Kickers facade?
Maybe just say a simplification of the Little Kickers facade, including the cornice line and field.
I'd say eliminate the relief in the ephes so that it's a simple, flat surface, and minimize the ornament on the cornice.
So as one particular condition of approval would be simplification of Little Kickers, effaced by eliminating the relief and cornice line?
Sure.
Don't eliminate the cornice line, just
Simplify?
simplify the cornice line.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I hear that notices were given because this is a public hearing. Did we receive anything? from
We did
anyone?
not, no.
Okay, even from the center?
No, no, I mean, they are,
Aware.
they're aware they are selling the property
I'm
to
sorry, you said from who?
inland.
Okay.
The center owner?
Oh, I mean, we're buying from them, so they know we're here and they support it, so.
Okay. Since this is a public hearing, if anyone from the public wishes to speak, they get to do so at this point. Okay. Seeing no rush to the podium to upset you, we can close the public hearing. Any other comments by the commission?
Is there anything special we have to do, since this is in a retail district, and this is strictly not a retail use, do we have to do anything in regards to that?
We do not. You're right, it is within the core retail area. That can be determined by the village board for relief.
Just a question, what's the clear height in there, do you know?
25?
25 feet?
Yeah.
Wow.
Has there been any thought to bringing in a retail component like shirts and water bottles?
They each have a component, Sky Zone a little bit more. I think both of them are, businesses that are evolving and changing with, trends, and I think both are at the forefront of their respective industries, but they do have some, merchandise sales. I don't think it's not at all a big component, but,
But at least it's something.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We have a standing motion to recommend approval on this commission, and we'll do it in parts. The first would be to recommend approval of a special use permit to allow a children's recreation facility to be known as Sky Zone Indoor Trampoline Park to operate with the following variations. It would be variations C, to allow wall signage of 475 square feet for the entire building rather than the previously approved 363. D, to allow 11 tenant panel signs on the two River Tree Court Shopping Center multi-tenant monument signs rather than the previously approved 10 which would relate to the entire building again. E, to allow the names of the tenants to be displayed on the 3 private traffic directional signs for the entire building, subject to the general compliance with the plans provided. And when we reference the architectural plans, you're referencing Plan A 2.0, right? And then final approval of plans by the village engineer and landscape technician, as well as compliance with all ordinances and standards of the village except as otherwise noted. And I guess that's just for Sky Zone. We'll do the architecture for the other one. So we need a second for that.
Second?
Any discussion?
On point D, where we're saying to allow 11 panels, do we need to say anything about without changing the current size of the signage?
They're dividing it in half.
I know what they're doing, but that's not what it says.
Because of how the previous ordinances were adopted, giving them exact square footage of space, I mean, they're already restricted by the amount of space they can utilize. So they literally almost have to split that up.
Yeah, there's,
Otherwise, that's go back again for a size variation.
Oh, there's an empty panel, yeah.
well, that's going to be, well, that's for the vacant, there's a vacancy in that, in the center, was it the former,
Like Old Navy, or no?
no, Mike, it wasn't Mike.
Office.
Depot.
Office.
Well,
No, there's a,
an existing
Well,
one
that's
on here.
two. Yeah, this is a really old sign.
and I don't, yeah, I don't want to rely on the 10, I mean, Hallmark is not there.
A lot of them aren't there.
None of those are there.
Old Country Buffet,
Not there.
Alta's not there.
yeah, so,
Yeah, it's historically
This is
interesting,
my,
but inaccurate.
yeah, there's,
Oh, Discovery.
I don't think Discovery's there anymore either.
yeah, there's more tenants that are not there than there.
Are they still there?
Yeah, I think Discovery's there, Justice isn't.
Oh, is it Justice's one that's
Yeah.
not? Okay. All right, okay. Any other discussion with regard to the Sky Zone special use motion? Okay, we need a roll call.
Commissioner Blue? Commissioner Cotton?
Yes?
Commissioner Hesner?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulchrone?
Yes.
Commissioner Grog? Chairman Morris?
Yes. Okay. Next, we have a motion to recommend approval of a special use permit to allow a children's recreation facility to be known as Little Kickers Indoor Soccer to operate along with the following variations. A, to allow 2 signs for Little Kickers as referenced in the packet. B, to allow a logo to be 120 square feet rather than 4 square feet for Little Kickers. C, D, and E, as referenced earlier, in addition to an additional condition of simplification, how do we phrase it?
Simplification of the Little Kickers cornice by providing relief with respect to the EFS.
Okay, and the general conditions
how we-
referencing Plan A 2.0 and the conditions of approval of final approval plans by the village engineer and landscape technician, as well as compliance with all their ordinances and standards. Do we need a second for that?
Could we just reel that back just a second? What did you
Yes,
say?
Why don't we re-say it so we get it right?
Yeah.
Either Jeff or Scott.
Simplify the ephes so that it has no relief and it's just a simple facade. And provide a cornice that's more straightforward.
If I may add, I'm sorry, I think the reason that they did the relief on the EFS was that because we wanted to center the signage over the entrance, and if you get rid of any of those 2 boxes, then it looks like it's off-center with the sign. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to making changes, but I think, I mean, in looking at it now, I think it would look a little off if the sign was bigger, then it took the whole span, it's one thing, but I think he did that so that it kind of squares it off and it's in the center. So,
I would just tend to disagree. I think it'll look great with the logo right over the awnings because then it plays off of the L shape immediately to the
well,
right.
and I agree, the signage, it's just, I guess if you get rid of the relief, then it's not centered on what is large sign band, but I'm fine with it if that's how you guys feel.
I think it would look
The awning's the organizing element.
right.
Okay, that's fine, sorry.
Okay, do we get a second for that or no?
I'll second.
Okay, we did. Any discussion? Okay, we need a roll call.
Commissioner Cotton?
Yes?
Commissioner Hesner?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulchrone?
Yes.
Commissioner Grog? Chairman Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Blue?
Okay.
You're all set?
Is it?
Okay, thank
it.
you much.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any development review or discussion we need to have this evening?
Real briefly, so just kind of a couple news items. So we don't have any planning and zoning commissions currently scheduled. However, we do anticipate some later on this summer, not until July, probably the end of July at the earliest, due to availability of commission members and staff. And so we'll be working on those items. All these we anticipate coming to technical review at some point in the future. However, we've not yet received any plans from them to begin that process. We've also received interest from
Who's the developer?
Uh, I know Bradford is working with them. I'm not sure who their architect or engineer are.
No, but Bradford is the developer.
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, we've got a proposal, I believe it's called The Vault, which would act as a club for cars, where I literally just saw the proposal recently, so it's very early. But essentially, they would want be a private club for individuals who could drive their vehicles into the building and then have cocktails, dinner, et cetera there. It's within our business park, which is a permitted use. They've shown us some renderings of what it would look like. It looks nice, so we'll see how that moves forward. And then we've also heard some interest of putting in a American Ninja Warrior style fitness place off of Butterfield Road. So it's kind of continuing the trend of recreational activities occurring within our office and warehouse parks. I haven't seen any formal plans for those, so we'll see when we get those. Otherwise, we've heard varying interest with the Forge Club property, both for residential use as well as for a potential animal hospital and related. Yes, there's debate as to whether or not they would accompany that with a storage facility or potentially retail or a restaurant use. So that hasn't gone to the village board for concept. Based off of past approvals, that certainly would. So it's pretty early on in the process as well. Otherwise, Menards is going full speed ahead, as is Melody Farm. We have started sharing some information. We've flown a drone over both properties to kind of show an overview of kind of what's going on. So if you'll take a look at that, let me know. I'd be happy to share that along with everyone. It's pretty cool to kind of see how it's all coming together.
Is that ever going to appear on the website? The
It should.
village's website?
It should. I'm hopeful that we'll continue to provide updates on there. And we did just update our village website, so if you haven't been to it recently, it does look a lot nicer and hopefully more user-friendly. And if you have any suggestions, please let me know. We definitely want to try to make it accessible for folks and something people actually want to utilize. And non-development news, we just swore in our new police chief, Patrick Crease. He was the chief of police in Winnetka, and I believe he resides in Gurnee, and he was just sworn in last night, and today was his official day. Just wanted to let everybody know. They are not. They opted not to move forward with that. Initially, I know due to their expansion efforts, apparently in Gurnee as well as Deer Park, they've kind of pulled back on their expansion efforts in other properties. I know the property in Deer Park, for example, is a brand new building, so I think they're looking at different type of properties. I've not heard of any other user for that site. Talking to the owner, he's really indicated to me that they're gonna have to do something more creative with the property in order to really generate the type of user that will want that space, up to including an outlot or some other type of configuration for the property. It should be a marketable site, but I understand the logistical constraints they have for attracting retail that far removed from the Milwaukee Town Line intersection.
Is there any progress in filling the mall up?
There has. They have been consolidating space. They have been making progress with the restaurants underneath the movie theater. A Chef Yan Can is going to be going there. It's called Chef Yan Can. I guess he's been on PBS.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And then apparently the Brazilian steak place, Tucanos, drawing back on the name, I'm supposed to say Sucasa. Tucanos is going in. They've had a silent lease for a while. It's taken longer than I think people anticipated to move forward with that. Otherwise, we have been talking to them all and asking them kind of where things at, because they have had a number of vacancies. And it sounds like what they've kind of been trying to do is they're almost been allowing some vacancies to occur so they can kind of reorganize the mall to kind of create additional space for some of their tenants, which kind of creates additional opportunities within the mall.
So where is the Brazilian steakhouse gonna go?
Underneath the movie theater.
I know one of the mattress firms has closed. Anything for that property?
Which one?
Mattress firm by Ross.
There's probably 4 of them next to them, but, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Over the bank?
By the bank. By the bank.
Oh. I know some of them have started to close. I've seen that in other areas. I mean, that we haven't heard of any new potential tenants going in there. If it's the one next to Ross, I imagine they might hold that. If it's owned by Inland, I can see them keeping it vacant until after Melody Farm opens up, just because that makes that property a lot more attractive to a potential tenant. But is what I've told our village board. These we all knew that these weren't going to all stay open forever, and it's a matter of that's going to happen. The good news is, for the most part, a lot of those mattress stores dramatically, upgraded or updated the properties, either with a new parking lot or new facade. So at the very least, we should have a better ethos to work with. It's been kind of similar to Gordman's. I mean, Gordman's wasn't here for very long, but certainly the improvements they made to that site are going to go a long way in allowing fly zone and little kickers to be able to move forward with.
Probably updated fire alarm systems and things like that.
Yeah,
Okay. Right.
that's a silver lining.
Anything else?
Yeah, U's finally opened up. Been there a couple times. I've had good experience. I'm sure if you look up on Yelp, you'll see varying degrees, but but I've heard good things, and they've said they've exceeded their expectations for their opening. So that's always really good to hear that, and hopefully it continues and they can be successful.
Okay. We have a motion to adjourn. We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to that? Okay, we're adjourned. Good night.
Thanks. Thanks for the interpretation of